Hello, my name is Joe Mingachos, and I'm the head men's soccer coach here at Western Connecticut State University, and today I am the main character. In my opinion, I thought I had an unbelievable childhood, a very close-knit family upbringing, very small family, but a lot of love and a very close family. I grew up in Danbury with my mom and dad, with my grandmother and grandfather who lived with us, and my brother. It was only two of us, me and my brother is 2 years younger than I am. My parents worked full-time jobs since they were first-time immigrants from Portugal, and my grandfather worked and my grandmother basically raised us at home. Once we were old enough, we went to a Catholic school our entire life, up until high school, where I went to Immaculate High School for 2 years. And then I needed to speak to my parents to transfer out of Immaculate High School to go to Danbury High School, which would be the very first time that I would go to a public school. It wasn't an easy conversation with them because they had so much belief in the Catholic education, and they had spent so much money up to that time on my education. But the reason why I wanted to go to Danbury High School was to play soccer. At the time, Immaculate High School here in Danbury did not support a varsity boys soccer team, and I wanted to play soccer, and the only place I could go to was Danbury High School to play. I finally convinced them that was a way to go. I went to Danbury High School, played varsity soccer my junior and senior year. Upon graduation, I ended up here as a student in 1986 at Western Connecticut State University. What my parents always told me was never to give up, work hard, and always strive for the best. And that's what I live by. That's what I taught my children, and that's why I live every day of my life for. I'm never satisfied. I'm also always pushing to do better in everything that I do, and that's what keeps me motivated, and that's what makes me happy, and that's what keeps me going. And I want my children to do that also, not only with soccer, but with their academics, with work. Just do the best you possibly can. If you do the best you can, you will never fail. The biggest obstacle that I had to overcome was my very first year, when I first got hired. I got hired as a head women's soccer coach here at Western Connecticut, and I was only 27 years old. So there was two obstacles there. Number one, being as young as I was, coaching college women for the very first time, and number two, being a male coaching a women's sport. At the time, our other female sports here at Western Connecticut, softball and basketball, had female coaches. And I remember at the time, those two coaches, who were both legends here, really pushed our athletic director to try to hire a women's coach to coach a women's team. There was something that our athletic director at the time at Farrington saw in me that thought that I could be successful. And thank God he was right. I won the support of everyone around me, and I was extremely successful, and I coached the women for 19 years. So that was the biggest obstacle that I had to overcome. Age, coaching females, and trying to get the other women in our coaching staff in our department to know that I was the best person for the job. I think what I would tell myself at an earlier age, I think it would be when I graduated college. When I graduated college, the only thing I thought about was playing the sport that I love, soccer. My dad, God rest his soul, did everything and anything to give me an opportunity to go to Portugal to play. He got me some tryouts in Portugal. I landed at one club who wanted to sign me, but I didn't sign. And the reason was I missed my family. I missed my girlfriend, who is now my wife. So if I had to do it all over again, I wish I had given him more time, and I would have stayed in Portugal to play professionally for maybe a year, 2, 3 years. Who knows where I would be. The one thing I will say is I do not, and I repeat, do not regret anything that I did do. All I wanted to do when I was in my 20s was play the sport. Never in my mind did it enter that I wanted to coach. I always wanted to play, and that's all I wanted to do was play. I got involved in coaching. I became the men's assistant coach here after I graduated. I also did a little coaching on the side, but my number one priority was playing. I remember back in '97, I got a phone call from our head men's soccer coach, Wayne Moniz, who was my mentor. And he says, hey, listen, our athletic director is going to give you a call. He wants you to coach the women's team here at Western because the women's coach has decided to move on to another job. And I said to Wayne, I'm not going to do it. I have no interest in coaching the women. I have no experience coaching the women. I'm not going to do it. He goes, Joe, do not be stupid. I'm not going to be here for much longer. Coach the women for a couple of years, gain some experience, and then once I leave, you can take over the men's job. And I says, Wayne, like I says, and I'll say it again, I have no interest in coaching the women. I'll continue to coach underneath you, continue to learn under you, and then once and if the men's job opens up, then hopefully I will get it. He goes, Joe, don't be stupid. It's a full-time job. You don't have one, and you just got married. I looked at him and I says, Wayne, you make some really good points. I'll take the women's job. And that's how I got really involved in coaching. Once I got involved in coaching, I loved it. It was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And like I said earlier, I ended up coaching the women for 19 years. The best coaching memory would have to be back in 2007 when I coached the women's team, and that team went to the National Final Four. That was just a dream. It seemed like the stars all aligned themselves perfectly, and we got to go down to Disney World and represent the university in the National Final Four. That was the first time and the only time up until this point that a team got to Final Four in any sport. But when you look back at my 24 years of coaching, the best memories that I do have are the relationships that I've made with all my players. The weddings that I get invited to, the christenings that I get invited to, the phone calls that I still receive from players from 20 years ago, letters of recommendation that I have to write for my players. That is what it's all about. I've won a lot of games. I'm going to continue to win a lot of games. I've lost a lot of games. I'll continue to lose a lot of games. But it's the relationships that I will continue to hold close to my heart, and it's a relationships that I will never ever lose or forget. You know what? A lot of my coaching education came from previous coaches. I had a lot of great coaches growing up, and it was almost like I took a little bit of every one of them to develop my own style. Did I do education on my own? Yep, I did a few courses, but they were just minimal. I do a lot of reading. I pick up different exercises, but I always put a spin on them and put a little of myself into everything that I do. But the greatest influence that I've had are from all the different coaches that I've had. I've always been able to take something from each coach and put it all together and develop my own little style. And my style is always changing. I'm a lot different coach now than I was 24 years ago. The game is always changing. The student athlete is always changing. The challenges are always changing. So I have to adjust as the times adjust and as the student athlete adjusts. Now being the head men's soccer coach for the last 4 or 5 years, I've gotten to a point in my career, I'm very happy where I'm at. When I took over the men's job, I wanted a new challenge. I wanted to rebuild a program that I felt I began back in the 80s. So it's almost like I've come full circle. When I became the men's coach, it was a program that had not been to the league playoffs in 10 years. It was a team that hadn't been to the NCAA tournament in 12 years. And I've been able to rebuild the program to a team in my 4 years that has gone to the league playoffs, league semifinals, every one of the 4 years. And we have gotten to the NCAA tournament 2 out of the 4 years. So I feel that I've gotten the program back to where it needs to be. I've gotten the program back to where it deserves to be. So I'm happy where I am right now. But as I said, I'm never satisfied. I'm always looking to bring the program to newer heights, not only on the field, but off the field. For example, my student athletes doing better in the classroom, improving the program with new locker rooms, increasing our fundraising every year. So I'm always looking to improve the program in any way that I possibly can. Is it stressful? Yeah, but I'm very happy where I'm at. What I would tell anybody is to do your homework. I do love what I do. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. But it has been very difficult. You miss a lot with your family. I missed a lot of growing up with my children. I missed a lot of soccer games that my children played. For example, my son, he played 4 years of Division I soccer, and I was able to only see one game of his in college on his home field. And that was his senior day, his very last year. So it is a lot of sacrifice. It is a lot of devotion. And if you want to do this job well, it's a 24-hour-a-day job. You have to be available 24/7 for your players. You have to be available 24/7 for your recruits. So it takes a lot of sacrifice. I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive wife and family. But to be honest with you, I would tell everyone to do your homework. It's a great job, but it is a lot of sacrifice, and you do miss a lot of life, family life, children's life. So it is a tough job to do. That's a great question. I think you should ask my players because they might see it in completely different than I do. But honestly, I think I have an unbelievable relationship with my players. Now, my relationship on the field with my players is a lot different than it is off the field. I'm very demanding on the field, but I know that once we get off the field, I believe they know that they have someone sitting in this chair that is here for them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no matter what they need. If they need help academically, I am here. If they need help socially, I am here. If they need a ride somewhere, I am here. I am here for them any way, shape, or form. Whether they're playing for me, whether they have graduated, I like to think that I am here for them 24/7. So going back to it, I think I have an unbelievable relationship with my players, past and present, and hopefully future, because I plan on doing this for a very long time. Forget all the bullshit and let's come together as one. I know we're living in a time that's crazy with the pandemic that we're living through, but besides the pandemic, all the other stuff that we're living through in our country, the divisiveness, the political BS, we're one people living in one world. So if there was anything that I could tell the people is that we have to come to some type of understanding that we can come together as one. And I know the other thing that I would say is let's get back to church. Let's get people to go back to church to praise and to pray to whoever their God is. I think that we've gotten away from that and you can see it around us. But I would love to get back to a time like I remember when we were growing up, that there wasn't so many issues on the outside. It was a much easier, much more happier, much more pleasant time to live. So if there's anything that I would do or say, I would love to get back to those days of laughter, easiness, and not worrying about everything around us.